I'm Jane Price from Mayne Gallery down in lovely Devon. Is the sea very close to the gallery?
About 6 miles.
So
So
you,
yeah, I can get to a river, the sea, within 10 minutes.
wow, so you're in Kingsbridge.
It's the top of what is actually a ria, so it's a flooded inlet. People call it estuary, but it's not.
Mm-hmm.
There's no rivers that empty into it. So we
Mm.
are 6 miles from Salcombe. So it's known as the Kingsbridge Salcombe Estuary. And
Ah,
we have seas all the way around. It's very beautiful.
I do love that part of the country. I can't lie. And I do get down there as soon as possible, whenever I can. I love being down there. When I first met my husband, which was many years ago, he worked for American Express, and they moved all the offices out of London down to Poole.
Oh right, oh lovely.
And so we used to come down there quite a lot when we were much younger. And then we'd spend time in Kingsbridge and
Oh,
Salcombe and Dartmouth. And so, yeah, it's an area I know quite well and I really love. And it's as you say, it's beautiful, but it's quite an arty area as well. There was always lots and lots of
much
galleries.
so. If you go right from Dartmouth all the way round through us, Salcombe, even going Nos Mayo, Newton Ferris Way, it's a phenomenal amount of talented art, major, fantastic galleries. It's a treasure trove if you
Mm,
like art, but also if you like walking. We've got fantastic food outlets. We are blessed, I think, down
mm,
here,
mm,
and a little bit of a microclimate in and around Kingsbridge.
mm.
Many a time I've sat on the beach with my children and seen the weather coming from the west, and then it just turns and goes north and leaves us alone. We love that.
Oh, that's nice. It's like, you are not welcome here.
Over the moors.
Off you go now, over there.
So yeah, no, it is. It's very lovely.
So,
It's,
do
it's a
you?
bit cut off. I mean,
Yeah.
you have to make your way here, um,
Yes.
but I think that's what keeps it as lovely as it is, really.
Yeah, special. So, do you hail from Devon? Is that where you were originally from?
So, Cornish born,
Hmm.
but when I was very young, my parents moved to Surrey for work, and I was brought up in Surrey. Um, my parents did move to Torquay for a few years, and then came. We all, as a family, ended up back in Surrey, Epsom, Ewell,
Hmm.
Epsom Way. But I married someone who had a business that meant he was going into London and out every day, but in building in commercial interiors. And
Mm.
he grew tired of it as he hit 40, and we looked for another business. I was looking about 10 miles away from us in Cobham and Claygate, and he was looking 210 miles away from us in Kingsbridge. Actually, it needed that we bought this building, which is an 1870s building, which I was terrified at. And I brought three very young girls down here, and they've all grown up here. It
Wow.
was a very good move. So I've been here for 26 years, so I think I must like it.
Yeah, and you still love him
I do,
for
absolutely.
moving you all that way.
It's just, I can walk to everything. I've got a lovely little high street here. As a market town, it's
Mm.
still thriving. We have bed shops and butchers and bakers, and it's all artisan, it's all local, it has that lovely feel. So yeah, we're I think we're quite unique at the moment, and nothing stays empty for very long here. Shops get taken up quite quickly. We've got a lot of, like me, owner run businesses.
Mm.
So those people that visit us regularly, and there are a lot of them, especially second homeowners, they just love the fact that this is so different to where they live.
Yeah,
We can come to the little deli and the bakers and the butchers, and get their
yeah.
stuff and call in and see me a lot. I've watched them all grow up.
That's lovely, isn't it? So, when you arrived there, you bought the business. Was the business a gallery?
No, it was a mess. It's called the Mayne Gallery, but
It
this
was called that.
third did art materials and then clip frames and bits of rubbish. And
So that was 26 years ago.
yeah, the gallery, they only had pictures. They had the kind of wall that was like a fabric wall, and they only had pictures big enough that you could Velcro the picture to the wall. So if you sold it, you gave people the D rings and the cord to take it home and fix it themselves. We came down here with beautiful silk screens from London, and when we're not doing any of that. We did try what they did. We upped the ante with the art materials. We did art demonstrations, and 2 years later, it's all gone.
Wow.
We've stuck with our plan. Admittedly, we've for 25 years we have also done customer framing, and in the last year that stopped. We are now purely gallery.
Mm.
So it's been small steps along with creating a family and making those decisions, getting out to art fairs, which is a huge investment for any gallery. But that's made me make that jump to being a fine art gallery. Yeah.
So you arrived and it was a mess, and there was artwork velcroed on the walls. Sounds incredible. Your brain just can't actually go there, can it? And then you became a framer.
We brought the framing with us. We'd once Graham had said, I can't keep doing commercial interiors. We started looking for businesses, and we attended a fine art trade guild at the time. Did quite a lot of seminars and talks with people that were successful. And we met a lovely guy called Martin Tracy, who had a framers in Bath, and he said, start in a small way. We offered bespoke, hand finished framing, and I started working with interior designers in Guildford and Hampton Court, in fact. And so we set up as a framers.
Right.
I was looking for a little framing shop with a bit of a gallery selling these lovely, what was called London contemporary art silk screens.
Yeah.
Roy Fairchild Woodard and Janet Treby and all this sort of thing. And Graham was looking at this, which was huge and listed as a building, and we were buying a shop with a flat with a garden, just way bigger than anything I imagined. But that meant we had to sell our home and move down here and invest in this. So this was a complete 100% change from what we did.
Yeah.
But yeah,
and as you say, quite scary.
Yeah, well, yeah. When you've got a 4, 7, and 10-year-old, you're moving them from a lovely little church school in Surbiton to a market town in Kingsbridge, trying to then do what you plan to do in Claygate or around Esher Way was like, well, we're going to do it, and it worked. It really worked. People were coming in saying, "What's changed?" The reason we kept the art materials for a while was because previous owners had been in 19 years, and they told us this is what works. And what we realised was it didn't. But it took us a while to find our feet and kick that into touch.
Yeah, and it's big, isn't it? When someone hands something over to you, you've got that kind of legacy. It's like, at what point do you go, sunk cost fallacy, I'm going to give this up?
Well, Martin Tracy, who I mentioned, said to us, do not buy a going concern. What did we do?
Very wise.
Bought a going concern.
Yeah, very wise words.
Really badly. So we had to work really hard, but hard work's never worried me. And there was a genuine belief in what we were bringing and doing. It's good. Our framing was always going to be always top notch. We always charged for it. We always did it to the top level that you can do framing. And even the day we finished, that's when I tried to find other framers I could recommend or use myself. I was looking for somebody that did full conservation framing. And that's what we still do. We would still recommend for anyone that walks in and says, you used to do framing. I'm like, yeah, I did, but now you can go too. And I've made sure I can point them in the right direction. So down here, that's very important. Don't leave people to find it for themselves. And unfortunately, there's a guy 2 minutes out of town Steve, he's doing a great job. And I've got old customers coming saying, thank you, isn't he lovely? So those relationships are very important. Everybody knows you down here. You've got to get it right.
Yeah, that is really important, isn't it? Relationships and rapport in anything.
Yeah.
So you did that for a while, and then you said you stopped doing that. So when did you stop, and why doing the framing?
Well, we actually only stopped this June. It's been on the cards for a couple of years, but with COVID, and we're all going to get different things out of coming out of that. We still are coming out of that.
Mm.
The realization that what are we doing with our time?
Mm.
What are we promoting? Framing is incredibly tight. It's about people. The person bringing the thing in that you design with them. How long do you spend? Then it goes up to the workshop. It's all about the people ordering the stuff in. You know, it's so much hands-on. So that's why I was always sure we were priced, but that became more difficult. Wood was a problem getting to the factories to make the mouldings. So things were out of stock all the time. Prices were going up massively. And Rose, who worked for me for 22 years, gave me 6 months' notice. And I went, when she leaves, we stop.
So that was at the beginning of COVID, was it?
Yeah. Well, she gave her notice in January this year, and I said, right, at the end of June, we stop. It had become hard to do and get right and be able to complete within that couple of weeks. And we were always chasing the suppliers who didn't have the stock. And I'm sure it will get better, but also the price rises were. I'm more confident. All my artist work, most of my artist work's gone up this year because I understand their paints, their products have all gone up. But with framing, we were already quite expensive anyway, and now you can't get the stuff. And then when you do, glass has tripled in price. And we only use the better glass. I won't go back to this plain old 2 mil frameless glass. So if it's on the wall, framed, no one argues about that. But if they're here with their little tapestry, and that's going to be £100, they don't get it.
No.
So I always call it the stand back. You've given them the price. Don't apologise, but explain. And that was getting harder. So it was time for that to go. Rose is retiring. My husband kind of needs to retire. So he's telling everybody we forced him to retire. He will be 69 next week. And we can concentrate on the gallery. Spend that time on these incredibly talented people that I'm here, that I exhibit here.
So had you started then building up the gallery, the artists you had in the gallery a little while ago prior to transitioning?
I've been 75% of the business for years.
Right.
Always the more important part of the business. And the fact that framing was becoming the angst, you know, you set up your day. You're going to do this amount on your website and that amount of promotional work. And somebody walks in with framing, there goes an hour. How do you get back to doing what you were doing? And it's like, it's got to stop. If we are a gallery, we need to be a gallery.
Yeah. And so when did you do your first art fair then?
Oh, gosh. Wow. 12 years ago.
And which one was it? Which Battersea, AAF Battersea.
I watched them from the beginning. They started around about the time I came down here, and I was never brave enough to jump. And eventually one year I just didn't tell my other half. I just paid for it and went. And it was amazing. Absolutely amazing. I took 4 artists. One particularly I sold extremely well. I still do, James Bonstow. The reaction, I looked around once I got there and hung my stand. I looked very, I leaned towards a little bit more traditional, not quite so off the wall. And it flew. It just flew. And I was just in awe. But the other thing I got from it was seeing other galleries, talking to other galleries, asking them why. The gallery next to me at the time, they were a print cooperative as such, but bespoke prints. And I was asking her questions, and she was just so happy to share. So like, come back. We want you. You know, you're here and you're enthusiastic and you're selling, and it's the buzz about the place. And I'm like, this is just. And I mean, don't get me wrong. Since then, there have been some art fairs that have been awful for all of us. I think the one I will remember the most is Battersea, the week before lockdown.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
But as much as it bombed for me, there were other galleries there that had already sent artwork to Hong Kong, New York. So they were on a boat.
They sat in those locations for nearly 2 years, didn't they?
So you just, but again, we could share that as galleries at the time. So it's so important to get out. And this business is a friendly business. I've got some great galleries in Dartmouth, Totnes, Salcombe. I speak to all of them. They don't do what I do. I don't do what they do. We share.
Do you kind of have then a negotiation about, like, I've got this artist, so you won't have that artist? Is that,
absolutely.
yeah,
14-mile radius.
Yeah.
And that sounds like a lot, but it's not down here.
No.
So if you are anywhere in Dartmouth, Totnes, Salcombe, Modbury, I don't do it.
Yeah. A bit of, you can get market saturation anyway. It'd be a bit silly to do it. But as you say, it's nice to have a really respectful relationship with the other galleries. And like artists, because I've obviously run galleries, it's a lonely business at times. So it's really nice to have mates, isn't it?
Oh, completely. I mean, when we go to Fresh at Cheltenham, there'll be Mark from Coombe Gallery and Angie from Zoe Gallery in Totnes, and a couple of other guys from up the country. We all go out for a meal together.
Nice.
It's given, you know? So this is a positive business. People don't buy anything from me because they need it. They buy it because they fall in love with it. So if they get what I'm doing, that's fine. And if it's what Mark's doing at Coombe, that's also fine.
Yeah.
So it's
do you ever do any like collaborations with the other galleries?
I haven't, but weirdly, I've offered so many times. Because, for instance, if you look at Dartmouth, twice a year, the 12 galleries at Dartmouth have an open evening all together. And you can go from one to the other and have a glass of wine.
Yeah.
And I had a gallery tidal down the road, Red Propeller up the street. Unfortunately, they've both gone this year. I've said, let's do something together.
They do like a little trail.
Yeah. I've even put, let's Kingsbury Salcombe Estuary. Let's do go down there. If the tide's right, get the tides right. There's a couple of beautiful galleries there. Have a look around there. But no. Anyway, there's a very large building at the top of town, also listed, also being knocked down and rebuilt by a couple called Mr. and Mrs. Velarde. And it's going to be a new gallery with a sculpture garden with an artist.
Oh, wow.
And they've already actually sent me a marketing profile saying, are you interested in collaborating? And I'm like, I am up for it.
I'm so in, yeah.
Yeah, because that will bring people to Kingsbury.
Yeah.
It's not about one venue.
Yeah.
So yeah,
and that's exciting, isn't it? I really love collaboration. I wouldn't do what I'm doing now, would I, if I didn't like collaborate? I love chatting to other galleries. I love hearing their story. I love understanding how they tick. I love doing stuff with other people.
Yeah, well, that's just it. Otherwise, any time, when it's good or bad, it's great to open your doors and know that that's done along with somebody else. It brings a whole slant to what you're doing.
Yeah, and you can ask them questions and you can share, the happy times and well, that wasn't such a great week, was it? But never mind, next week will be great.
Yeah.
So how do you find your artists, Jane? How, because you're saying none of you swap over, which is good, really good. But do each of the galleries have a distinct style, and so certain artists gravitate to you as compared to another gallery?
I'll be really honest with you now. I get a lot of artist submit. Most galleries will have a decent, artist submission page of some sort. I get a lot. I also get a lot because we are at the art fairs. And I would say 95% I say no. Because I've been here long enough to know my customers. I'm not saying I don't push the boat out and try different things. But there's an awful lot of art I can't do. I've tried, for instance, abstract. I've really tried. And I just can't sell it here. So there is a certain ethos about, the other person who maybe, when you get somebody come in and say, I paint like that, but I can do it for less. And I'm like, why would I do that? Why would I do that? And actually, I know in my heart of hearts, they can't paint like that. So I've seen enough to know that there's certain things I want to fill. I'm actually getting better at planning ahead, well ahead. So for instance, next year I plan 4 artists coming in at different times. I can't just say to you today, I can take your artwork and put it on the wall. I can't. I've already
committed. You're full.
And I've got stuff out the back. So it's looking at that. I can go and say, I've got another 2. Would you like to have a look? Always good. people feel like they're getting something a bit special. So I also, going out to art fairs, you look around and then maybe you research those people. And if they're anywhere near us, forget it. But if they're not, and you feel like their work's going to fit, arrange a time, have 4 or 5 pieces in for a given event.
Yeah.
And if it works, it works. And if it doesn't, that's okay. You know, most artists would be pleased to have a go. Equally, there have been people I've approached over the years that have said, no, I'm too busy.
Yeah.
And that's fine. That's really fine. So I don't find it's a problem.
So you know your audience really well, and you know what resonates with them, and generally you are going out and picking the artist as opposed to them coming to you.
I am.
Yeah, because you've got, as we can see, the lovely Jonathan Haitley in there, right there. So you saw Jonathan's work, did you?
With Linda at the art fairs. In lockdown, I think my daughter and I were finding we were getting inquiries anyway, and one thing we were very short of was sculpture. And there were 2 lots of people we'd seen whose work we just loved. And I said, well, when I look, Jonathan is represented by Linda, that's lovely, but in 2 other galleries in Kent, so way miles away from us. And we contacted him. Serena got back to me and said we did, and she explained they had a gallery in Cornwall and it didn't work, and she explained why. And I went, well, that's not the way we work anyway. For instance, shutting for 3 months of the year.
Yeah.
So, you know, she said, well, let's give it a go. And actually it's been really successful.
Yeah. And that's the thing, isn't it? Because Jonathan is one of those artists that, you know, he only has a certain amount of pieces every year. So we can't be having 15 galleries because he couldn't possibly cope with it. So, you know, it's exactly the same as you, the ethos of, well, we'll give it a go, but if it doesn't work, we're going to have to pull out quite quickly. But fortunately with yourself, it's been brilliant.
It's been amazing.
It's been amazing.
We've had, you know, 2 customers that have bought 3 pieces each. Other people that have never bought sculpture before fall in love with it and have had a piece. Even yesterday, I had a lady in going, where's my husband gone? Why? And I said, well, he's outside, he's done. Sculptures, they're amazing. And she said, I don't know anything. Oh, no, I love that one. I don't know anything about art. I don't know anything about sculpture. That's all you need to know. You fall in love with something.
It's just about your heart, isn't it?
Why wouldn't you have that in your home? And she was blown away by his stuff. So if you get anything on the wall, so yeah, that's what you want, is that connection. And this work just stands alone.
So what kind of client was she? Was she someone who was holidaying, or was she someone who's
down a few days? I do get a lot of people that are like that, but they'll come 2 or 3 times a year, usually out of the main season. And as I say, massively second home down here. So they also will, yes, they'll be down with the children in the summer and the various holidays, but they'll come back down when the kids have gone back to the public school. They'll come back down for a few days, check the house. So many of them are managed, they don't have to check anything. And I've learned over the years that I call them second homeowners, but they're actually multiple homeowners. So they've got a place here and they've got a place in the mountains, and so it goes on. So this is almost like a little bit of a trip for them, but I know all their family and I know their history. So it's just, and that's how it started. The first person that bought these from me in Devon lives half an hour away from Jonathan.
Wow. In Sussex.
Yeah.
That's mad, isn't it?
But he's like, no, I buy from you. And the final piece that got fitted was sunrise in his garden, and Jonathan and Serena took it and fitted it with them, and I got the photos. But Paul would always come back to me because he likes that. But he'll phone me, say we're on our way down. I've got a beautiful house in East Bournemouth, but I'll, you know, out of hours, they'll come to me before they go for a meal. There'll be a little glass of bubbly, and they get the place to themselves, and we chat, and I leave them alone. And then maybe they buy something, maybe they don't. Mostly they do. They love that. They're alone.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Away from home.
Yeah, and it's that really special relationship they have with someone who they trust, who they know that they trust your taste, and they trust that you're going to be showing them really interesting and beautiful pieces of artwork. I see the glass on the table. That's gorgeous.
Well, thank you, because actually that's my second daughter.
Oh, that's absolutely stunning. It looks like boats. Is it
She
boats?
exhibited for the first time at Battersea this year,
Oh, we're gonna.
but this was her wool piece.
Oh, okay. The
The big
fish,
shells,
and
and
that's glass
that's all
in
fusion
a
glass.
and it's in a perspex case.
No, no, it's actually Fritz glass on
Right.
glass,
Oh, wow.
and it's held off by certain connections so that you get the shadow onto the
I
board.
see. Yeah. It's got those brackets that stand away slightly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that flew. That absolutely,
Beautiful. But I
yeah.
love those. I can see how those would be really popular. Those like they look like sailing boats.
Well, they are. That's just it. It started off with glass in pebbles. She now has molds that she makes the bases from, and she's in 4 different galleries around the country.
Wow. Was that her thing when she was growing up? Do you think she was going to be an artist?
So, 3 daughters. One went to uni, and then Sophie went to uni. And at week 3, she said, "I'm in the wrong place, doing the wrong course, and I'm leaving." Like,
Oh,
okay, that's fine, great, fantastic. Off she went traveling and doing various things. Worked in London, worked in New York for a while, came back, but she was always coming back to glass. Um, so I ended up sending her off on a course. And then on the second course, I went, "I'm buying you a kiln." And I bought her a little kiln. And there we started. And the little kiln is now 3 kilns, one of which is vast. And she just played with it. And this is, yeah, we'll be years down the line, but even that has evolved. And yeah, she's a talented girl. But she was also my daughter. She has 2 children. She started very young, 22 when she had her first, and 25 when she had the second boy. So I've got 2 grandsons who are adorable, and fortunately, she only lives 10 minutes away.
oh,
So I get to see them a lot, and she's just very, very committed to doing the stuff she wants to do. Very measured, unlike mum, who means to do it. Woo! So yeah, she's good, and you can rely on her.
it's
And
beautiful, absolutely stunning.
I sent her now to do the art fairs.
Do
So
you?
when I told her I submitted her for Battersea and she'd been accepted, she was like, "Oh, right." And Emily said, people just, for her to be there and see that reaction as well,
Yeah.
it's
It's
I'm
really
not.
validating, isn't it? So Emily is your other daughter,
She's my youngest, and
right?
she's with me. My eldest lives in Perth in Australia, and she does my newsletters.
It's a family affair.
Lesley, my kids weren't meant to be involved. They were all going to grow up and do their own thing. But at the moment, Emily works for me. She does all my Instagrams and Facebooks. Yeah, and she's very good at it. And again, so it's got to that point now where I generally send Emily and Sophie to do the art fairs because they are in their 30s and cope with the exhausting event as it is, and I don't have to be there. I can totally trust them.
Yeah, I don't think people really appreciate it. I don't think visitors and I don't think artists truly appreciate how physically demanding doing an art fair is. It is exhausting.
When you're, as I said, 31 and 34-year-olds say, "I'm broken."
Yeah.
I'm like, wow.
Mm.
Because it's, and it's not just the art fair. You are weeks before getting the artwork in, getting the labels done, getting the profiles ready, getting it packaged, ready to go. We're very lucky we have a van, but packing that and then plinths and the ladder and the we've got a milk trolley to move the big work. So you get there, you unload all that. You've got to take a lot of money to a courier to do it for you. Believe me. And then you set it all up. So you've got to hang it all. They go up on the Tuesday for Battersea, for instance, and this year they had hung it all by the end of Tuesday. They didn't need to go back on Wednesday. But I know what mine are like. They'd have been back there at least an hour before it opened, checking. And then you've got 3 nights that you work till 9 p.m. And on Saturday, Thursday and Friday, that's 11 till 9, 11 till 9 on your feet all the time. Then Saturday and Sunday are 11 till 6. And then you've got to take it all down, pack it all up, get it in the van, and drive it home. I mean, it's so much, and that's the vast majority of galleries. There are a few who have been doing it longer, have got, whatever, who have a courier come in and take it away, but you're adding another 2 grand to your event on top of the 16 to 20 that you've just spent.
Yeah, let's just say that again. 16 to 20,000 for a week.
For my daughters doing it, staying in a Premier Inn, them driving it up, them driving back in our vehicle, I needed 32,000 in takings to break even.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a lot of money you've got to take. And I think artists need to hear that.
Well, that's why it's so. I've paid my artists out far more than I've made. I've seen my
me too.
For March, but I consider that a win. I'm not crying in my soup.
No.
I made a couple of grand.
Yeah.
What I've done is I've put new names into the database who will be back, and there's a potential that they'll buy afterwards. I've already had 2 sales after the event. So I think nowadays, unfortunately, if you really are a gallery, you almost can't afford to not be at these things.
No, I agree.
I've heard you get interior designers there for customers. Weirdly, we had one on the Wednesday night who wanted the girls to reserve 2 pieces until she spoke to her client, until the Thursday. And the girls said, we will hold it overnight. But once we are back here tomorrow, they've got to go on.
Yeah.
So this interior designer phoned them on the Thursday to say, the client's interested in the 2 pieces. Is there a deal to be had? Is there a discount? And the girl said, no.
No.
And in the next 3 hours, they sold both pieces for full price. So, that's the other reality. The girls are great at that. Don't give discounts. Why would you? But
I'm renowned for that, Jane. People ask me for a discount, I put the prices up. I'm like, oh, you really want it that bad? Oh, we better put the prices up.
Yeah, no, it's a strange thing with art. We've all had this conversation.
Yeah.
But they know everybody's worked for us with new work. It's out for the first time. If it comes back to the gallery, it hasn't been seen, then we'll start to promote it. So there's no way. And even, if I look at somebody, as I've mentioned, James Bonster, who does well at those events, he can't produce much more for me. He's always working now towards the next art fair. I've got 2 pieces, biggish pieces by him now, and that'll be it. I won't have any more because I know they will be sought after at Batty. And of course, I want him to be out there and seen. Him's good for me. But I've heard these interior designers tell their clients, this is the place to come and buy art.
Yeah.
Because they understand that something like the Affordable, particularly, select galleries. You're not given, you get in, and they select the artists. Not everybody I submit gets accepted. Some get turned down. And nowadays I accept that. That's fine.
Yeah. They do know what they're doing.
And it's so that's why when you're in London and you hear designers saying this is the place to come and buy art, then you need to be there.
Yeah. And that it's exciting but exhausting and expensive, but you're obviously, you're making that work for you and your artists, which is fabulous to hear. It really is fabulous to hear that you're doing that well, and encouraging, really encouraging for artists and for people like me who work with artists and are, today and yesterday I've been spent 2 days working with artists on a marketing course, and we discuss, is your marketing strategy to get into a gallery? That's part of their, their trajectory. And it's really important for them to hear how you think about your business and how you manage your business and how business-like you are about it.
I've over the years I've learned that you've got to understand that I'm here to hopefully pay your bills and you'll help me pay mine. I can't paint, but I can appreciate it and I can learn about it and the person. Nobody ever says to me, how is that painted? And if they do, they're an artist. They'll say to me, oh, are they local? Or where does he live? They want to know about the person behind the painting or the sculpture. and I know them. I know all of them. So you can give it the, well, they're here and this is, and they've been with me and this is why they do that. Emily has started to do little videos that she's putting on Instagram. She's just done one recently for Susan Evans. It's beautiful because it explains exactly why Susan paints what she paints, what you get out of it. And you get that kind of like, oh, wow, this Susan Evans is amazing. The fact that it's Emily Price standing there talking about her doesn't matter. So it is a business. It's a business relationship. And those artists that go to me, well, I could give you 2 now and maybe another one in. I'm like, no. I need 4 so that we've got a collection. And if I sell a couple, I need to say to you at some point, could we have? There is no pressure for you to bring it in next week, but when will I? And if it's like, well, I don't know, because, you know, and I'm like, well, this isn't working. You're not businesslike about enough about what you do. I'm not asking you to paint in a certain way, but at least if you're in a gallery, this is now, it's a shop.
Yeah.
I open the doors in the morning and I shut them in the evening. It's a shop. And people come in and some, on the whole, they buy something. So if that, people become collectors. I've got people now that have collected, one of my artists, John Donaldson, he's in a house in Pangbourne. 30 plus pieces of his art are in that house. It's a vast house, by the way. But that man comes to me for that. And he's introduced other friends to me. So if you get a collector like that, you can't be saying, well, what you 3 months since you were down here, got exactly the same artwork on the wall. It's not going to work.
Exactly. That's it, isn't it? People, you know, they want to keep that, you've got to keep their interest going. So it is, actually, I loved that when you said that. It's like, you know, I help you pay your bills, you help me pay my bills. It's a mutual appreciation, but respectful relationship.
Yes, always.
And the same with your collectors. Your collectors come in and they want to see something interesting and different. They don't want to see the same thing there over and over again. Exactly. And it's good to hear you say that, because I say to artists, you're not ready to go to present your work to a gallery yet. And they go, yeah, I can. Oh, no, you're not ready yet. You're 2 years away. And they don't understand why I would say that. And I say, because you're going into a business relationship that has to be respectful. You can't just turn up and give them 2 pieces and then never turn up again, because they've got people who they've worked with who are now wanting to collect your work.
I think the other thing, which is very difficult for some artists, I do appreciate some artists can paint in so many different styles and paint well. So they can do figurative and they can do floral and they can do landscape, and like, it's not going to work. I need a collection that has a cohesive look. Because if somebody starts buying your landscapes and then they come in next time and it's like your work, but it's floral, they're going to go, hang on a minute, what's going on here?
Yeah.
I'm not saying it will never happen, but there has to be a cohesion-ish about the work. Of course, it will evolve and change, but not totally in style. I tell you what, I've got one artist, she's known for her florals across the board. But in the last few years, she started doing abstract. And I know she does seascape, landscape, and she's I need her for her florals. That's what I sell all the time. But this year, tried it. I took 4 abstracts and 4 kind of riverscape, seascapes. I've handed them all back.
Because you've got a client base for the florals.
Maybe to attract new, because I love her. I love her to bits. Maybe to attract new clients, just didn't work. Florals, commissions, sold them at the art fair, sold them in the gallery. So guess what we're doing next year?
And does floral sell down there?
Hers do.
Yeah.
Not all the time. Still lives are back in fashion. A bit of figurative's back in fashion. I'm talking about Devon here, not across everywhere. And her florals sell. Yeah, and a little bit more as now Paul Treasure, his kind of florally type riverscapes are going. But that's been years where I haven't been able to sell that. So you do dip back in. Just because something isn't selling now doesn't mean it won't sell in the future. I cannot do abstract here. I just can't. I do love some of it, but I just can't sell it.
It's funny, isn't it? Well, I always find when we go into a particularly phase of our, you know, because obviously you and I have been doing this a while now. And so we've seen the trends come and go, and it's about every 7 years, I find. But when we go into a period of time, I don't know whether you've noticed this, but when we go into a bit of an austerity period, when people haven't got much money, they always go back to highly recognizable, still life, things they really, it says what it does on the tin.
It does. You're absolutely.
That's a seascape. That's a landscape. I know what it is.
The other thing that's definitely changed in the 26 years I've been doing it. I would have said in the early days, I was really buying for people that were looking for art.
Yeah.
And then came the people that were looking for interior, a finish.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we're going to have a problem here.
Yeah.
You're going to get 5-10 years down the line, and you're going to say to me, I bought this from you. Yeah. It doesn't fit now. And I'm going to go, yeah, well, never mind. And when they said, well, can you resell it? Can I resell it? And I'm like, no, probably not. It's far too young. And those curtains you bought at the same time that you probably spent quite a lot of money on? Oh, yeah. Are you trying to resell those? No. What about the settee you've been sitting on for the last 15 years? No. So what is it about, if you bought your art for your interior and you've moved house or just whatever, and you've got all new furniture, you've changed completely, what is it about the £3,000 settee and the £1,000 worth of curtains that you now don't like the £500 painting? Because it doesn't go in your interior. So I don't sell. The other thing I do not sell on the basis this is definitely going to go up in value.
No.
That is a slippery slope. Somebody has to buy from me a piece of art because they want it, they like it, and they hopefully fall in love with it. And they will get a valuation from me because, I state it's for replacement value, not for resale value. It's on my letter. So that's the only other side of the business. And I find when you get into an austerity that you get more people coming back and I bought this from you.
Yeah.
I know I can genuinely, hand on heart, say I did not sell you that on the basis that you could get your money back and make it. Yeah. That's not to say there aren't artists that have done just that. But even so, I'm dealing with living artists who are painting for me all the time. Why would I have their old work back in to try and resell it?
And there's plenty of auction houses and gallery and places where you can do that if that's what you want to do.
In that direction. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's lovely to think that you've bought something that will become collectible in the future. And as we know that art, like all things, the price may go up and down as well as up.
Yeah, I try to work on the basis also with my artists that we don't get to the point where we put your prices down.
No, absolutely.
It will plateau now for a while. Things are a bit tough. Even then, I have a couple of artists that I definitely in 2023, their prices need to go up. So yeah, it will plateau. And then it will start to go up again, not down. But I mean, I appreciate that all their bills, the same as everybody else's, will go up, so it's hard. But yeah, art should never go down.
No, absolutely. When you buy original art.
Original, of course.
When you buy original art. I know I've had people come to me and say, oh, I've got these and they're prints and, I bought them for 500 and I was told they were going to be worth 10,000 now. And I was like, no, they're probably worth 100. And it's because they haven't bought original art. But always try and buy original art is something that I would recommend. And that's what you're doing in the gallery, isn't it?
That's totally where I've gone.
Thank you so much, Jane. It's been absolutely fascinating to talk to you. And I know later on in the month or so, I'm going to be chatting to your daughter as well, Emily. And I'm really looking forward to that. And just hearing her take on it from a younger person's perspective and also all this experience from the art fair. So yeah, I'm very excited to have a chat with her. And I think at some point I might also need to speak to Sophie about that.
That would be great. Do it from a studio.
Yeah, that would be amazing. But thank you so much. I've really enjoyed it. And it's been beautiful to have that backdrop of all that amazing artwork. I have to ask, next to Sunrise, who is that artist with the light shining on? It's absolutely stunning.
Elena Clues. She's a local girl who we've taken in this year. That's actually Mill Bay opposite Salcombe is the
oh wow.
Yeah, we took her to Battersea for the first time. She did all right and she's going to fly for us. She's new this year.
Yeah, she a beautiful work, absolutely beautiful. I've been sitting here just like gazing at that over the top of Sophie's boats.
Yeah, and I live right opposite my front door, so
Lovely. Well, thank you so much, and thank you for um, taking the time, because no one knows this, but this is the evening that we're recording this, and Jane's been working all day and so have I. So, you know, when you all watch this on YouTube, there's no concept of what time of day we might have done this, but I can assure you this is the evening in the UK. And it's just I just love having a chat to gallery owners and artists and anyone who's in the art world, just to hear their experience. So thank you for sharing so generously.
no, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Take care.